Well, Paul was saying in Galatians that this Old Testament Jewish system was only until the coming of Christ. Then Paul in Galatians 4 explains himself in more detail why the law was given from Moses to Jesus. It kind of sums up the whole purpose of life. And this chapter 4 kind of sums up the whole of why Galatians was written. And if you accept it, it kind of sums up why Revelation, was written. And this is the purpose of this letter. And Galatians is a primer to Revelation. Okay? So Paul starts off by saying, what I'm saying, I'm going to explain myself. What I'm saying is that as long as the heir is a child, he is no different from a slave, although he owns the whole estate. 3, so also when we Jews, as opposed to you Gentiles, and it's definitely not talking about we Christians throughout the centuries, or we in 2019, we were in slavery under the basic principles of sin, and then Christ freed us. No, that's reading it like the reformers with the grammatical method. We need to read it historically. That was 2,000 years ago, talking about what the Jews were going through. As opposed to you Gentiles, we were children. We Jews, as opposed to you Gentiles, we Jews, we were in slavery under the basic principles of the world. We Jews, as opposed to you Gentiles, we were under the basic principles. And those basic principles are like, you're a father, you're a parent, and you have children, and you want to raise them right. And you tell them, turn off the lights, eat your vegetables, go to sleep at 9 o'clock, and don't play with those kids over there. You're my children. I don't like those kids' characters. I don't want them to rub off on you. So Paul was saying that it was a pedagogus, that Old Testament system. Let me show you what a pedagogus is. Here is the pedagogus, okay, which was Moses. And here's the Jewish people. This is a figurine in archaeology. This pedagogus, babysitter, training wheels, playpen, took this children of Israel to the teacher for 1,200 years, which is Jesus Christ. That's what Paul's saying. This system of law was a good training wheels, good babysitter. Now let me be a little more thorough. This is my linear Bible. It has the Hebrew, Greek, and English translations together. Okay, I paid like $75 15 years ago, something like that. Now the print's kind of small, so let me show this a little closer. See if you can see it. Hold it. See what it says right there? Now here's the English. So the law has become a trainer of us until Christ. And here's the Greek word right there that I'm going to show in the concordance. And here it says, so the law, a trainer of us until Christ. Now, let me show you Strong's Concordance. Same thing. See? There it is, the same Greek word as the interlinear Bible next to the word pedagogus. And sometimes pedagogus is spelled differently. And yes, I do realize I need a pedicure. A servant whose office it was to take the children to school. Okay? Boy leader. That was a pedagogus. There's no function for that pedagogus today. That's why many have misunderstood it. But now that Christ has come, why are you still with that system? I like this interpretation. But this system of law was to last only until the coming of Christ. Okay? And it says, but now that the Spirit has come, now that Christ has come, we are no longer under the supervision of this religious system. And Christ is the end of the law, religion, not law of morality, but the end of that religious system. And here it's becoming obsolete. Pause the video and watch it. They're obsolete. So I figured out, it's like when mankind was ready, God looked down on the earth and he had to pick someone and some place to start his relating to humanity. He happened to pick that hemisphere because I believe it was entering monotheism, one God, away from the polytheism. So he looked down and he saw this guy, Abraham, a gypsy. Now, if he picked someone from this hemisphere, our Western hemisphere, we will still have our present global crises with terrorism, this issue with the chosen in Israel, But God didn't pick this hemisphere. He picked the Eastern Hemisphere and picked Abraham. And I like to point out there's nothing special about Abraham. In fact, that's why he picked a gypsy who had nothing to boast about. God did not pick him because his blood or his skin or his height, whatever. God had this dilemma. He had to pick someone. He picked this guy. Whatever hemisphere, we still have this chosen, arrogant, we're the chosen people. Even nationalism is caused and created from this. So God does not have favoritism, as Peter realized in Acts. Acts 10:34, then Peter began to speak. I now realize how true it is that God does not show favoritism, but accepts men from every nation who fear him and do what is right. He's really, as I read in Galatians, was really the one who got the promise. He's really the chosen one. And then, 430 years later, the Jews came. Okay, Moses, Mount Sinai. So he pulls them out and he gave them the laws. But they were like animals. They were like cavemen. So God said, turn off the lights, eat your vegetables, go to sleep at 9 and don't play with those other people, because God looked down on the earth and he had to pick someone and some place to start his relating to humanity. He's a caring adoptive father. And I say adoptive because it says that Jesus is his biological son, but really we're all his children.